Welcome back to Studio Chatter. Traditions mean so much to all of us. How do we keep them alive with our children? Please welcome Mallory Nelson to our table.
Hi, ladies. So great to be back.
Thank you for saying yes to your sweet mother.
Of course.
We love having you.
We do. And this is exciting because normally we talk kind of organizing with Mal, and we're going to dive into maybe organizing the holiday season with children.
Or maybe. That's a good twist, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so as I was kind of thinking about what to discuss, what came to mind was making the holiday season intentional and enjoyable, specifically with little kids, because I have 3 children under the age of 5, which is
bless your heart.
a handful, but I know people do it, and it's great.
Actually, under 4, I feel like we are.
Yes, a new 4-year-old.
Which is tricky because you want to have the magic, but it's also a tricky age.
Yes.
And you're starting new traditions in your family.
Yes.
And you need to sleep and enjoy it as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So last year, we just kind of did all of the things. You know, you see people on social media and it's like, oh, we have to do that, we have to do that, we have to buy that. And I found out very quickly that it was overwhelming and stressful. I wasn't enjoying it, my husband wasn't, and our kids definitely weren't really enjoying it either.
That's what you say you're doing it for, but sometimes it's not.
It's too much.
True.
So fast forward to this year, and before the season even began, you know, me and my husband sat down and said, okay, what do we want to do? And I think it starts with identifying your family values. So for us, one of our values is quality time. And so as one of our bigger gifts for our kid this year, instead of buying like a few other gifts, instead we're doing passes to a rec center. So we can go, you know, use the gym, go swimming, whatever. It's kind of just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, right.
So yes, ID your family values first, I think is like key to start with what you buy and the activities you plan for the season. So along with season, you have to also consider the season of life you're in. So
We talk a lot about this.
Yes, we do, don't we?
We're all kind of all over the place.
Yes.
Young, you're intermediate.
Watch your words with
doing
me.
Both.
Okay. Young,
Old.
intermediate,
Advanced, maybe.
Ooh, I like it.
experienced.
Yes.
I like it.
So yes, I was just thinking like with our kids, another one of our family values is travel and experiences. So as much as I would love to take my family on a vacation in lieu of Christmas gifts, I just feel like with littles, it's not the right season for us. So maybe another time, but we consider that too as, you know, what we will and won't do.
Traveling right now is a little
In general.
tricky also, just because COVID is still, you know,
It's still here.
Yes.
And with littles, you get a flight delayed or canceled.
Oh.
Like I had a flight cancel
Nightmare.
in Florida, but it was just me.
Yes.
With girlfriends. I thought if I had 4 littles with me,
Right.
that kind of would have been a nightmare.
It would have been terrible. Yes.
Yeah.
So
and
yes.
some places are still requiring testing, even
Yes.
for littles. So
Yeah.
you have to be
Exactly.
careful.
And we just spent the weekend up at the cabin, and 3 under 3 in a room. Like, it takes work and planning, and
Yes.
for you to enjoy yourselves and for the little ones as well. So sometimes
Exactly.
Even time in a car.
Exactly. Yes, I wrote
Need
it.
to pack the kitchen table
Yes,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yes, I like
Call
that
the
idea.
grandma and go travel somewhere.
Anniversary. I'm gonna remember that. But anyway, so yes, also kind of along with that, I would say don't be afraid to say no to either buying gifts or going to activities that aren't in line with your family values, or the season of life too. So for example, like if you have older kids, maybe it's time to expire Elf on the Shelf. Like it may not be as relevant anymore. Or yes, once again, like not traveling with a bunch of little kids.
And my season of life, my kids are all adults, and they still think they need Christmas Eve gifts from me and pajamas. And if I don't do it, Mom, you're like ruining all of our traditions we grew up with.
So
You're 29.
we've had to define this. It
Yes.
is. And I had to transition into now I give to the grandkids, which was a tricky thing for me as well to give up that. But it's like passing the tradition forward.
And it's
I
like
think I'm going to be passing soon.
Yes, and I would say like to reevaluate every year because it's definitely going to change, right? As you have younger kids, older kids, grandkids, and so on.
And the budget can ebb and flow. Like I've had a certain budget for a decade, but now the family's getting bigger. I've tried to keep this budget. I've reevaluated. I'm like, husband, we need to look at this. He doesn't want to spend any money. He's like, no, leave it. I'm like, no.
Too.
Yeah, I feel like that's them in general.
Yes.
But yeah, that's totally true about that. And I heard of a mom that said, well, I always spent this much on each child. So now that we're growing, I just divvy it out.
That's what I've done.
And do smaller.
Yep.
See, and yeah, whatever works for you. And if it feels right, it probably is right. Going back to, okay, what season of life am I in? And also, like, what do we value most? Like, what could we give up if we had to? And what would we choose if we could only choose, like, a few things? So, speaking of choosing, just to provide some tactical ideas of what would be fun to maybe try with your families, for those of you who have little kids. This is what our family decided to do this year. So I had mentioned earlier that we got rec center passes as one of our big gifts, the gift that keeps on giving, I hope. And then we also do, I love advent calendars. We have a few, like the little chocolate ones, some other things. Also, I would kind of consider a visit from Elf on the Shelf as a form of an advent calendar. And then we do have, because quality time is one of our values, we have a big, the brand is Gather, and it's this big leather mat with pockets. And in it, we have a bunch of cards with activities to do. And so just a few examples that we did, and making sure they kind of align with what's appropriate for our season of life and what we really do enjoy doing. So we did make gingerbread houses. My littles love doing that. Super messy, but super great. And then like
it's
another
a love-hate for me. For sure.
Yeah, it's like we just strip down to the diapers. It's great. So, and then another value is service. And so one of the things we put on there was make a treat for the mail carrier.
Oh, cute.
To them. So I thought that would be fun. And then this is new. We're going to try this year, which we'll be writing it, but writing a letter to Santa, and instead of asking for what you want, asking for ways to help other people who you see have a need. So that kind of ties into like a more service-oriented thing. So we'll see if that sticks. Another thing we're doing is going to like the Heber Creeper, going on the Polar Express. I think it will just be this weekend.
We're so excited.
Because we haven't done anything like that, because we like all grew up, and now that we have littles, it's fun.
So this
to,
is
like,
a first for the whole family.
Yeah, so my mom took us when these guys were little, and then there's been a season of nothing, and then we all decided, okay, we'll do it again. And Bo's like, nah. But I'm like, hey, you loved it as a boy. And he's like, I did.
Yes.
Like,
just come with
and
us.
so Bo's coming. Yeah,
he is.
So fun.
Such a good kid, good sport. Another thing that we're doing is I'm taking my 4-year-old who's really into ballet and dance. We're going to the Nutcracker Ballet up in Salt Lake.
I am too. So is
Oh
Natasha.
my goodness.
They're going together.
Okay.
Did you get tickets?
I didn't realize that she had bought the tickets. We had talked about it and then didn't. And then she told me today, and I was like, what?
They're still, are they still on sale?
They're still on sale.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
Hopefully
not,
on your night.
next
If not,
year.
next
Take
year. We
another
decided
kid.
We'll take all
Yes.
of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, me and
Just
Noli.
you two?
Yep, just another mommy-daughter date for December.
Fun
So, so we'll do that, and I'm excited because we haven't done that since I was younger. So I guess we did go once, but anywho. And then let's see what else I put here. I put that we chose to do fewer gifts, but ones that were like higher quality and kind of in line with, once again, our family values, what's like appropriate for our age of kids. And instead of getting like gobs of stuff, we're just getting fewer, nicer items. And then letting the relatives, of course, give some of those fun.
I appreciate that.
Things, yeah.
Sometimes grandma's like, oh, they really need some socks or new shoes. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. I'm like, no, we'll let grandma give the fun gift.
Do you like your mom to ask, what do the kids need, or surprise?
Yes, I do. Just because sometimes there are things that people need, but like it's uncomfortable to ask for. So it's nice when you just know that, like, hey, the kids are really in need of this, or they really enjoy this. We've got this part covered. We would love if you could get them
that's
like
what I
this
do with
cool
my kids,
toy.
because I just remember the lists are often long with little kids of their needs.
And random. And they
Whole
change.
catalog circle.
And your budget's not as long as the list. And so it's kind of nice if if you
Yeah,
can
like
get
to
some of the
work
things.
with. Yes, totally.
And it's fun when they change their minds at the last minute.
Always. Yep, we experience that on a weekly
When
basis.
they hear from someone else, and all of a sudden there's a surprise.
And you're like, no.
Totally.
Or even your 19-year-old does that to you too. Like,
yeah.
well, how much is that?
But yes.
Technology has added some fun twists.
Yeah,
Now you have like nailed this, and it just seems peaceful. Are you stressed going into the holidays, or do you feel peaceful? Because you
Yes,
'Cause she's
I feel like yes. The best part is that we prepped it like early before Thanksgiving. Both agreed upon what we wanted to do, and yeah, I just heard this thing once of envision your ideal holiday season, and then create it, make it happen. And I'm like,
I think that's the case with life. A lot of
Yes.
people, tell me, "Oh, you just do fun things." Well, I plan most of that.
Yes,
Like, I'm with you.
It's intentional. I want a fun life. I want to enjoy it, and you have to plan.
Totally, and it also made me think, like, a lot of times there's so many things to choose from and so many things we can say yes to. And I loved how Mallory said that sometimes it's okay to say no to some of those activities, because then it makes your holiday hectic. And even though all those things may be great, it's hard to fit everything in.
Especially with littles, because my schedule's full, and I feel like it's just basically me. I'm like, whew, that's pretty fast-paced. If I had 3 littles at home on
like
top of
dance
it.
recitals, this, that.
Yeah.
It's like, just pick what's important, stick with that, and then, I just think it brings a lot of peace and enjoyment to the season. So.
Thanks, Mel.
Well, thank you for
thank you,
sharing.
sweetheart.
Welcome.
Happy holidays.
You guys as well.
Coming up on Studio Chatter, we'll talk about the memories that our holiday decor reminds us of.